From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Good morning and welcome to Montana This Morning. On this Friday, November 3rd, I'm Augusta McDonald. Lots to get to this morning, but first, new overnight. Dawson County officials continue searching this morning for a suspect they say shot multiple people yesterday afternoon south of Glendive. This is where the shooting happened. Take a look at this map. It's a field in a rural area near Marsh Road just before 4 p.m. yesterday. Again, multiple people have been shot, though we still don't know an exact number or how serious their injuries are. The Dawson County Sheriff's Office says they continue to look for the suspect. I touched base with their dispatch a couple of hours ago. This is the latest information that we have. The area surrounding Marsh Road is still under lockdown, but the shelter-in-place order is lifted for schools and much of the city. We'll continue following this story. The Glendive Police Department says T-Mobile has warned them about a potential system outage impacting dispatch. So if there is an emergency in that community and you can't get through to 911, you're asked to call the department's direct line. That's 406-377-2364. Again, 406-377-2364. Police say they don't know when the problem will be fixed. We're also learning new details about Wednesday's deadly shooting in North Billings. Police say a 31-year-old father was shot and killed inside a home on the 700 block of North 17th Street while holding his 1-year-old son, trying to shield him from the gunfire. The baby also died from his injuries. 2 suspects are in police custody. No arrests have been made. Police say this crime, along with the murder of a Rocky football player over the weekend, are both gang-related. After one of the deadliest weeks in Billings in recent memory, local law enforcement and city leaders say they need the public's help to end gang violence in Billings. Q2's Jackie Coffin has more.
A gang problem. That's what law enforcement and city leaders described here Thursday in the wake of 2 deadly shootings in just 5 days. One thing I learned here today is that there are hundreds of gang members in probation and parole, both as adults and youth. By now, we've heard the gunshots, seen the lights and sirens, and learned the names of lives lost. Now we hear the details of growing gang activity in the Billings area and the connection to crime.
It is clear that the individuals involved in all of these violent incidents have little regard for life or property.
City leaders join law enforcement to face the problem.
That we cannot and will not let these killings define our community.
Police Chief Rich St. John says there are 17 known adult gangs and 7 known juvenile gangs, and there are ties between gang members with both shootings from the last week.
In this particular case here, we know that they're affiliated with a gang.
And a trend troubling police and city leaders is the amount of guns being stolen from cars and being used in shootings.
Year to date, the Billings Police Department has responded to 222 firearms reported stolen. 128 of those have come out of vehicles.
The amount of guns that are involved in these incidents is shocking even to me. I've done this for 25 years in this community.
Cracking down on gang violence is also a focus of the courts, which is struggling with limited jail space for both youth and adults.
Suffice to say, some of the people we're dealing with would not be out causing problems if we did not have space issues.
While St. John says the department does not have the funding to start a gang unit, they are hoping the public can help in reducing gun thefts.
Anything that the public can take away from any of these incidents is to secure your firearms.
We need all 120,000 residents engaged in making Billings safe.
In Billings, Jackie Coffin, MTN News.
Jackie, thank you. This is the face of the 1-year-old victim from Wednesday's shooting. Family members tell Q2 to take Morrison died 1 day before his first birthday in that shooting on North 17th Street. His father was shot while holding him. The man fell on top of the baby, trapping him until first responders arrived. Take passed away in the hospital.
Today, we just want you to know that we love you. Your mom wants to celebrate your day today. And just know that we all love you and we miss you already.
A baby that always put a smile on your face, that never cried anything. Happy birthday to Dake. We miss you and love you.
Again, no formal arrests have been made in connection to this shooting, though 2 people are in police custody. Gun violence is topping headlines nationally today as well. This morning, the President and First Lady are traveling to Maine to meet with survivors, families, and first responders of the Lewiston shooting. The visit comes just a few days before the Supreme Court will hear arguments in a firearms case that could change who's allowed to have a gun. Reporter Stephanie Liebergen breaks down the case.
Just 16 months ago, the Supreme Court issued a major firearms decision overturning a 100-year-old concealed carry law in New York. On Tuesday, the issue of guns will be in front of the justices again, but this time looking at the intersection of domestic violence and gun rights. The case is United States versus Rahimi, and it centers around a federal law that prohibits someone subject to a domestic violence restraining order from having a gun. But one expert says the way the law is worded presents a challenging issue for the justices.
It's written in such a way that it is illegal for people who may never have done anything wrong to own a gun. And the reason for that is that what triggers this dispossession requirement is the mere issuance of a domestic violence restraining order.
The man at the center of this case, Zaki Rahimi, was under a domestic violence restraining order. His defense team says banning him from having a gun is an infringement on his Second Amendment rights. Their argument points to the Supreme Court's precedent established in the recent case involving New York's concealed carry law.
One of the things that the Supreme Court has said that it and other courts have to do when looking at a case involving a potential infringement on people's gun rights is to look back through history and see if there's a reasonably analogous regulatory scheme from the founding era.
Rahimi's defense team argues there's no comparative historical law for this case. The government is defending the federal law, saying there's a long history of disarming people who pose a threat to others. Arguments are scheduled for Tuesday morning, but a decision likely won't come down for months. Stephanie Liebergen, Scripps News, Washington.
We'll continue to follow these stories. Good morning, Miller.
Well, good morning. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to a little bit warmer afternoon.
Yeah, trying to hit 60 today here in Billings, so we'll be above average, and we may see some 50s and 60s across the weekend. Now, it's different off to our west. We may not get out of the 40s today, but to the northeast, we may not get out of the 30s, so a bit of a spectrum there in terms of the temperatures. Yesterday, basically on target where we should be. Average-wise for a high of 52, a little warmer than normal yesterday morning, mild, and it's a mild start this morning as well. Top gusts yesterday of 20 miles an hour. Could still see that today in Billings, staying breezy. Off to our west, the usual suspects, Big Timber, Harleton, Livingston, maybe not as windy as yesterday, but we could still have gusts 30 to 40 miles an hour. Gap flow winds kick in as we get into the weekend. It looks like those winds will start to pick right back up for your area again. We have seen a little bit of rain out there, basically on target for the month in terms of where we should be rain-wise for the year. We're looking great for the snow totals for the season so far. We're pacing ahead. Still have a chance to see several inches of mountain snow daily all the way through the early part of next week at least. 45 right now at the airport, humidity down to 80%. The winds currently are calm. You can see temperatures across the area, 30s and 40s. You can see that little slug of moisture there. That is going to start to move out, mostly dry today, maybe still lingering off to our east. And we'll talk about that mountain snow, talk more about the winds, and we'll talk about maybe another cool down coming in the middle part of next week. So we'll break it all down, come up in just a bit.
All right, Miller, thank you so much. Now on to some controversy this morning surrounding Montana Millionaire ticket sales. The Montana Lottery is looking into claims that some stores, including one in Billings, were printing tickets before customers got to the counter, leaving some to wonder if their winning tickets might have been given to someone else. Q2's Haley Monaco explains.
Montana Millionaire tickets sold out in just 5 hours on Wednesday. For many, this lottery event is much anticipated, but for some, they left feeling a bit uneasy after purchasing their tickets.
All right, and there you are. Have a great day. Thank you very much. You as well. My ticket that got printed when I got up there didn't go to me. It went to someone on the other line. So that person could have my winning numbers, but you don't know.
Tanya Claren was looking forward to purchasing her first Montana Millionaire ticket.
My husband normally buys, so he said, when you get up there, just tell him you want a ticket and wait, because sometimes you'll hear a special sound, and that means you're an automatic $500 winner.
But as she inched towards the counter at the town pump on Zimmerman and Grand, her excitement turned to confusion.
And his cashiers were saying, I need 1, 2, 3, and he was just like handing them off.
As I was getting closer in line, about 6, 7 deep,
I got 5 coming your way. Money collected.
I noticed a staff member behind the counter hollering out to the customers how many tickets they would like.
Jenna Hockey was at the same town pump as Claren just an hour earlier.
5 more, 10 more. Granted, we weren't even close to the cash register to purchase these tickets.
Oh yeah.
If there was an instant winner, the employees would have had absolutely no idea who that ticket rightfully belonged to.
The town pump store in question told MTN News they cannot comment on the situation. As for the Montana Lottery, they tell MTN they are aware of these claims and are in touch with Town Pump to assist them in investigating.
Just wish that Town Pump wouldn't have done it that way to make us all feel a little uncomfortable.
A chance to become a millionaire that in reality ended up being less than rewarding. In Billings, Haley Monaco, MTN News.
Haley, thank you. A group of Montana families is heading to court over conditions at the Montana State Hospital, naming Governor Greg Gianforte in a new lawsuit. The group is seeking damages, alleging the Warm Springs facility has been neglected and run into disrepair. Along with Gianforte, the suit also targets the state of Montana and the Montana Department of Health and Human Service. The lawsuit says because the governor is the chief executive officer for the state of Montana, he is responsible for the operation of the state hospital. The Montana State Hospital lost $7 million in federal funding after investigators found deficiencies that led to patient deaths. And the Montana Board of Public Education is now considering whether to approve 3 charter schools the Billings Public School District wants to add under a new Montana law. School District 2 hopes to start an early college education program so students can graduate with college credits. The district also seeks to open an opportunity school for students who have dropped out and are seeking a second chance to graduate. And the Newcomer Center is a charter to establish a multilingual academy for expected resettled refugees.
We are expected to make the determination of the likelihood that it will open and operate successfully while meeting all of the basic minimum expectations, such as make sure that they are increasing standards for student achievement, closing achievement gaps, increasing the opportunities, provide for alternative learning, reducing the dropout. So there's a lot of pretty significant criteria, and we are tasked with measuring, do we believe that they have the plans in place to actually make this happen.
25 charter school applications were submitted from school districts across Montana under House Bill 549. The deadline for those applications was just a couple days ago. This legislation also allowed independent groups to submit applications. If a school district declines to move forward with the charter school proposal, the board received just one application from a group other than a school district. Another charter school related piece of legislation passed last session. House Bill 562 would have allowed parents and organizations to seek state approval for so-called community choice schools. A coalition of teachers, parents, and statewide advocacy organizations have filed a lawsuit challenging that bill's constitutionality. So that bill is currently on hold in court. And new this morning, Secretary of State Antony Blinken is back in the Middle East to meet with leaders in Israel. His top priorities include humanitarian aid and protecting civilians. This, as President Biden says, more than 70 Americans got out of Gaza yesterday alone. CBS's Ian Lee has the latest from Tel Aviv.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken landed in Tel Aviv on his second trip to the Middle East since the conflict began nearly a month ago. He says he's focused on protecting innocent civilians caught in the crossfire, getting humanitarian aid into Gaza, and reaching a sustainable peace between Israel and the Palestinians.
We're determined that this conflict not spread.
The visit comes 3 days after the gates opened at the Rafah crossing, allowing hundreds of foreign passport holders, including dozens of Americans, passage from war-torn Gaza into Egypt.
I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to see the family that I left behind or the friends that I left behind. People are dying. Everybody's dying. Nobody's safe.
The Biden administration says it supports temporary pauses in fighting in order to get Americans and hostages out of Gaza and humanitarian aid in, though it's not in favor of a general ceasefire. Israel's military says the encirclement of Gaza City is complete as the fighting expands deeper into the territory. Hamas says an Israeli airstrike on the Baraj refugee camp Thursday is believed to have killed at least a dozen Palestinians. While visiting the UK, Vice President Kamala Harris called some of the images out of Gaza, quote, heartbreaking.
It is absolutely tragic when there is ever anywhere any loss of innocent life.
Though the vice president also said the administration is not telling Israel how to conduct the war. Ian Lee, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
In addition to Israel, Secretary of State Antony Blinken has a planned visit to Jordan today. Yesterday, the House of Representatives passed a $14 billion Israel aid bill, despite a veto threat from the White House. However, the bill is not likely to get past the Democrat-controlled Senate, where many lawmakers from both parties oppose separating Israel aid from Ukraine assistance.